Sightings. I'm Tim White. It's a feeling we've all shared. You walk into a dark basement or an old house or an unfamiliar part of the forest, and you think, this place gives me the creeps. Well, ghost investigators have a more sophisticated term for the creeps. They call it place memory, the belief that certain locations of great anguish and torment retain energy from the past that comes back to haunt us in the present. A pristine blanket of snow covered Ottawa, Canada on our visit there. But not even 30-degree below weather could bring this city to a halt, because it is the capital of Canada, where life and death decisions are made every day.
Ottawa International Hospital, please hold, please.
And on this day, visitors from around the world are checking into the Ottawa International Hostel, unaware that it too has played a unique role in the life and death decisions of the city's past. Prior to 1972, this was the Carleton County Jail, an infamous house of corrections and cruel and unusual punishment. Peter Mackey is the supervisor of operations for the hostel.
The accommodation we offer is within the original cells, with the original bars, the original brickwork. It's a unique environment. In fact, we do get some people come here purely to say, I've spent time in jail. It's something to write home about. As far as I know, there's no other hostel like it anywhere in the world.
In fact, the hostel has many letters on file written by guests who experienced visions of tortured inmates and heard painful, ghostly screams.
What you're about to see now is the Gallo area.
According to Steve Chris, a criminology student and the hostel's unofficial historian, the Carleton County Jail was a terribly inhumane institution.
This institution was particularly brutal. The cells were small. There were only 3x9 cells, freezing in the winter and too hot in the summer. There wasn't any running water. There wasn't any electricity. So if you were a prisoner housed in one of the cells in the wintertime, there's a really good chance that you froze to death or got frostbite. 2 years in this institution could mean your life.
Steve is working on a comprehensive history of the jail, but his efforts have been hampered by a government that would rather forget this scar on its corrections history. So Steve emailed Sightings in search of a different kind of historical perspective, the psychic perspective of Peter James.
Hi, how are you? Fine.
Steve Chris.
Hi, Steve. Nice to meet you.
Peter had been told only that he was going to Ottawa. He was given no information about the location that he would be searching and had been voluntarily confined to his hotel room until this visit. He was here to unearth the past in hopes of explaining the present haunting.
Uh-huh. This is like a prison. It is a prison. Was a prison.
Peter asked Steve to take him on a tour of the hostel. They walked all 9 floors together, but Steve did not reveal what he already knew of the jail's violent history.
This is preliminary. But I feel like there were some hangings here. A lot of hanging going on here. Does that ring a bell?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Thank you.
It does have a history.
Okay.
Peter was drawn to the 8th floor, stopping here, not knowing yet that this was once the jail's death row.
Now, is this the floor that that would be a focal point?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Yes, in order to this question, does the name Patrick mean anything?
Absolutely.
Patrick?
Yes, it does.
Patrick with a like with a W, like a wheel. And it's right in this area is where I feel it.
Records indicate that the jail's death row was the last home for an Irish immigrant named Patrick James Whelan. In 1868, Whelan was accused in the political assassination plot against Thomas D'Arcy McGee, a popular figure in the Canadian Parliament. His death shocked the public, and their outcry for swift justice led to Whelan's conviction on a weak prosecution case. Patrick James Whelan's death was the last public hanging in Canada's history. Peter felt compelled to go outside to a spot directly below the gallows where Patrick Whelan was hanged 130 years ago.
People watched with glee, seemingly.
At that time, public hangings were reasonably common across the world. That was the way justice was done. And the doors were opened onto the outside world, and about 5,000 people turned up to see him die.
Next, Peter wanted to go to the parking lot on the other side of the building. Keep in mind that Peter had not yet been told about the hanging of Patrick James Whelan, or that the notorious prisoner even existed at all.
Patrick had something to do with this area as well.
It was Patrick Whelan's wish that his body be buried in Montreal next to the grave of his best friend. And the then Prime Minister of the time had promised him that this wish would be granted. In actual fact, his body was buried in the courtyard of the jail in the middle of the night with no ceremony of any sort. So his wishes were not granted. That promise was broken.
Just after 11 o'clock, the hostel was quieting down. Time for lights out, and time for Peter to attempt to make contact with the spirits.
See, I hear screams, I hear moans and groans, because I get a sense of whippings and, hello? Hello? Who's here? Someone's at that far corner. Look.
Patrick, you're in another dimension. Talk to me now.
Yes, see, I feel he's talking. He's talking to me now. And he's saying that he didn't like Mickey. Mickey? Who's Mickey? Now, he says, I wasn't even here in November. Now, what does that mean? I have no idea what that means.
Through Peter, Patrick seemed to say that although he didn't like McGee, he didn't kill him. And he was not in Ottawa in November when the prosecution contends Whelan purchased the murder weapon.
The evidence convicting Whelan for the murder of McGee was very, very circumstantial. It was based on hearsay. No one ever even saw the assassin who killed McGee.
Wow.
Finally, Peter took the same steps that Patrick Whelan had taken on his trip to the gallows so many years ago.
Vibrationally, I don't want to go. I know it's my last walk. It's my last moment of life. I mean, how sad, how tragically sad.
Whelan, on the day of his execution, was led to the gallows from his last death row cell. And standing on the gallows, they said, "Any last words, Jim?" And he said, "God save Ireland and God save my soul." With that, they put the white hood over his head and the noose around his neck, and they hung him.
On February 11th, 1869, Whelan was hanged by the neck until he was dead. Whether it was because he was an innocent man falsely accused, or because of the broken promise about his final resting place, Peter James is certain that this is one spirit who does not rest in peace.
I would say his presence is certainly here, and I believe that he walks these corridors nightly, looking for a way out.
Hosteling is a great way to explore the world on a budget, and the staff at the Ottawa Hostel hope that the faint of heart will not be discouraged from visiting their historic facility. The ghosts, they tell us, respect the do not disturb sign that comes with every room.